Okay, here's a demo on how you can supercharge your development experience with the use of vibe coding, different agents, and MCP. What you see in front of you is the MCP config file that is available within VS Code, the desktop version. In this example, I have two MCPs installed, or configured rather. I have a Dataverse MCP, and I have an Azure DevOps MCP. Now, each of the MCPs will have their specific actions or set of functions that we can perform, not only to generate content, more in the Gen AI results, but also actions that we can perform against the technologies. Dataverse will have its own actions. We can list tables, we can take a look at the metadata within those tables. And for the DevOps, we can reach out and ask information about work items that may be assigned to us. We can ask it to run pipelines. We can do all sorts of things. So I strongly advise you to get acquainted with the various different MCPs that are available out there. So for my example, what I want to do is I want to start my DevOps server. And if I scroll up here, it's going to show some of the tools that are available. There are 80 tools available with the DevOps MCP, Azure DevOps MCP, that is. And then we'll do the same for the Dataverse one, and we'll see how many actions or tools are available with that particular MCP. There's about 13 tools for the Dataverse one. So up next, what we are going to do is we are going to simulate what it would be a day at work for me, right? So suppose that I signed on, I got my, I replied to my emails, and I'm now ready to code or to perform tasks, right? And my company, we use a lot of the Azure DevOps features. We put work items there and whatnot. So this would be essentially a list of items that are assigned to me. I have 3 items that are assigned, 4 with the epic itself here. But let's say that this is all that I have to work on. There is a create dashboard chart, refactor, recently resolved cases, server logic, recently resolved cases, dashboard card. So if I click in one of those, you see that there are some details in the description there, the same for this guy, all right? So what I can do, as opposed to every day signing in and going to the site to get a list of works that I have to complete, I can now, because I have my MCP wired, I can inquire MCP to go fetch that information for me. So what I will do is I will engage with GitHub Copilot, and I run this particular command: get my work items for project Power Pages Plus. So we'll fire this out. It's showing that I have 4 work items open. I'll ask a little bit more details about the work items. Show me the title of each work item. Allow. Okay, and then it's showing to me nicely here in a table format what these are: create recently resolved cases, dashboard card, refactor recently resolved cases, server logic. So for today, suppose that I feel like I want to work on a little bit of more JavaScript server-side logic, right? I have the source code for this particular site asset here. There is the file here that I wanted to work on. So I will open that guy, and it's now, the file is also brought in context to the conversation. We are going to make this terminal a little smaller, and I will ask the agent to give me a plan on how I should implement work item 98. Outline a sequence of steps to cover the requirements for task 98. So it's working through that plan, and it's now showing to me what I need to do. Okay, I need to filter based on the requirement, which is to filter recently resolved cases. I need to filter this list or result set with state code 1. If I'm not using some of the other actions, I can remove, the functions I can remove, and that's it. So I will ask it to start the implementation for me, and then we'll see what the code looks like. Now here we go. It came back with a function, a new function that is being invoked within the get method, And if I am satisfied with the code that it generated, you know the the color variance here to indicate the lines that are going to be removed versus what's being refactored. And we can go line by line, or we can say, I want to keep what you suggested, all right? And not only we can see that it applied the code as we needed. If I go back, it created a new function, organized the code for me, and then it replaced, refactored it well, it added a little bit more logging to my result set. Not only it took care of it, but if I enlarge the size here of my GitHub Copilot chat, you see that it explained to me what it's doing line by line using natural language. So essentially, that's the power. I mean, in this simple example, we have combined MCP, Azure DevOps MCP, Dataverse MCP. I didn't have to go to the backend to indicate what was the table structure for this particular, the incident table. It went out there and took the metadata from it and built a nice query that is Web API compliant. And for the code itself, how it's structuring the code, then I have a number of different LLMs that are used in combination. You know, I'm stacking different LLMs according to my need. In this case, I'm letting GitHub Copilot decide which LLM I need, so it will switch off in ways that I overspend when I use this LLM. So pretty cool example, simple, but it does help lots when it comes to Power Platform development in general.